It's me, Butterfly Spirit 314. So, guys, what I wanted to do is sort of wrestle with the question of, can money buy happiness? So, this is a pretty interesting question. Um, and I just realized I have some toothpaste on my shirt. And I forgot about it. But anyway, that's nor here nor there. So, anyway, can money buy happiness? Hmm. Well, to be totally honest, I think money, I feel like money can buy happiness, but it may not be able to buy happiness. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So many of us, we go to work, we work jobs. Some of us may work, part time. Some of us may work full time. And when we get home from work, a lot of us just want to kind of chill and relax. Many of us are going to work, and we're working to make money because most likely, we have to pay, bills and utilities that we have. Utilities could be like gas, electric, sewer, water, um, trash. Maybe you may have to pay for internet as well. I mean, these days, internet is an essential these days because, with a lot of the devices we have, a lot of times they're going to require us to have internet. Like when my internet when it went out, when we had, after we had a tornado and I didn't have internet for days, and I even got to the point where I went to the library and they actually had internet. I realized that, wow, internet is really essential because if you don't have internet, like you can't really, go to YouTube and watch anything. You can't, go to Facebook, or, you can't even go to Google and look something up if you, like, let's say you want to, cook a new recipe or something like that. Like the internet, like these days, internet is really tied into things, and it's essential that we have it. So that's basically what many of us pay for. Many of us may have a cell phone. Some of us have unlimited cell phone plans where, many of us have that, mobile data where we have unlimited data where we can actually, be able to connect, to the internet at any time. That's really helpful. Like if you have to use like a GPS or whatever, super helpful if you do, especially if you're going to a place you've never been to before. Like for me, I had to go to, my brother's graduation because he got his high school diploma. And so, going to the place where his graduation was held, then I had to, use my data on my phone to actually, allow me to use Google Maps to be able to even get to this place. And on top of that, I needed to use Google anyway because, the fact was it was raining and storming and stuff. And also, Google let me know with the directions, hey, there's going to be like traffic, you're going to go through a heavily, heavy traffic area. And just like Google said, I did go through an area and stuff, and I was stuck in a traffic jam. Luckily, I made it to the graduation. But yes, we do need internet these days. Now, are directions on Google reliable? Not often. If you use an offline map, yeah, you can do that, but I prefer to use Google, to get me to places and stuff like that, especially places I've like literally never been to before, you know. So internet is essential, whether it's on, whether you have it at home or you have it on your cell phone. We need it, okay? We definitely do. Especially, if we're coming home, and let's say we're going to be meeting some kind of traffic or whatever. We want to know ahead of time, hey, we're going to be dealing with traffic so we can go a different direction. Internet definitely has its value, which is why we pay for it. If you can't pay for internet, you may find a shock at first. You might be like, oh, I could deal with life without internet for a while. I'm good. Yeah, that is until, you haven't had internet for, you get bored and you haven't had internet for a couple of days and you're realizing like, oh shoot, and let's say you don't have any movies or anything like that. Yeah, it's tough. So hence for me, I end up going to the library. Also, like at work too, we have internet, so I was able to like use internet there. But yeah, it was tough not having internet at home. But yeah, getting back into the topic, you know, we go to work so we can have the money to pay our bills, right? And we do that. Some of us may live in a house, some of us may live in an apartment, you know, some of us may be renting a room or staying with family members, friends, or whoever. But we go to work so we can be able to afford our expenses, okay? And the really good treat that we like to give ourselves, I know this me, this is something I feel is that if I go to work and work my ass off, then of course I'm going to want to be able to, get something for myself for going to work. I want to be able to buy myself something, something that I can enjoy, you know. And this is where people say, money can buy happiness, right? So for me, happiness is me being able to go and do things for fun, like me being able to go to my dance classes, whether I'm going to pole dancing, or I'm going to chair dancing, or I'm going to ballet, or let's say I'm going to my twerking class, which I've not gone to in a while. Um, you know, for me, it's dance. That's like my thing, where I really enjoy, going and stuff and being able to spend money on. And it's a fun activity to be able to get into dance and stuff. And it allows me to connect to my feminine energy. And that's what makes me feel happy because thanks to the money I'm making, I'm able to use that to buy a fun experience. Now, I could go and buy a dance class, and yes, I may expect it to be fun, but what if it's not? In that way, money may not buy happiness if I have a crappy experience. So that may not be me buying the happiness in that regard. So, you know, and let's go a bit deeper. Some of us, we will spend money, and we'll spend money because maybe we're spending money on maybe on a company. So maybe we're spending money and we're spending our money maybe to uh, on friends. So maybe we want companionship, from friends that we have. And in order to do that, some of us may go and we may, cover the tab for our friends that we have. Like when we go out, we may treat our friends or whatever. Because we know, hey, if we, invite our friends to go out to eat and we're paying for it, our friends will show up. And then in turn, we get to, enjoy time with them. Now, this isn't to say that there, aren't people who have friends that come over to their house just to come over and then you don't have to spend money. You know, it can happen, it's possible. But, there are people, there are friends people have that, they might be more incentivized to come and spend time with you if you spend money on them, you know. And then there's also, there might be the situation, and, just like I was talking about, like a dance class, there might be a situation where, you might invite a friend out to, your friends out to, go with you to, wherever you're going to, whether you're going to, breakfast or you're going to a sporting event or whatever you're going to, you know. And there's a chance you might not have a good time, right? And you may not be, you may pay for the experience, but it may like suck. And really, is it the money that's providing you the happiness? Are we really seeking? Is the money really giving us that happiness, or is the money just something that, we would spend it anyway, so why not use it on something, when it comes down to it with money, money's not something that we can talk to. You know, we can't have a stack of money and, we can't use a stack of money and be able to cuddle with a stack of money. I mean, yeah, we can hug a stack of money, but it's not going to talk back to us. When we're upset or sad about something, we can't talk to the money and, and have the money talk back and give us companionship, and reassure us that everything's going to be okay. The money can't do that. No, the people in our lives can do that, provided we have people in our lives that support us in that capacity. And for some of us, we may or may not have it. And it's okay if you don't have support like that, but you can definitely find support from people. But it's about, finding people that are going to be able to give you that, you know? It's not going to be the money that's going to specifically do that. Like I was saying, like when it comes down to money, like we can't, have a stack of money and say, hey, money, you know, I'm sad. What should I do? You know what I mean? Like you can't do that. But the relationships we have with people allow us to do that. When I spend money on going to a chair dancing class, for example, when I do that, I've been to the chair dancing classes before, and I know when I go, I know I'm going to get happiness from going to the class, right? And if I invest in this and contribute my money to this, I know when I come out of it, I'm going to be happy, but it's not the money that's going to make me happy about it. It gives me the ability, the invitation to come to the place. But what really is making me happy is the people that I'm around. It's the people that create the happy environment or not, you know, and for real, it's the people. It's me getting a chance to have a laugh with people. It's me getting a chance to try out a new dance move, or whatever. And this dance move maybe or choreography may be created by somebody who came up with it. The money didn't come up with it. The person who created the choreography came up with it, you know? And so it's being around people, that can bring about happiness. The same thing with, if you had a bad experience. If you have a bad experience with something, it's not you can't blame the money and say, money, you caused this. It's not the money. It could be a person or people you're surrounding yourself with that you may have invited somewhere, and they may make the experience messed up, if you will, and they may make it just ridiculous. There are people who go out and, they'll go out on dates and, they'll spend money on a date. And when I say people, I mean men. There are men who go out on dates and they'll spend money and, they're hoping if they spend this money that the more money they spend, this is going to mean that, this is going to impress the woman, and the woman's impressed, then she's going to think, the guy is great because he has much money. But in that instance, is spending the money, is that a lot of money going to guarantee a good time? Not necessarily. Because what if the guy shows up to a date and the girl that, shows up on a date, I mean, she's like full of shit and she's just there for a free meal, or she's just there for, she's just there to, to say she went to the place, I mean, who knows what she's there for? I mean, she could be there to just judge the guy, and the same thing can happen with a woman. A woman may go out on a date or something, and let's say you have a woman and she goes and, she goes out on a date to meet a guy, and let's say, she's cool with splitting the bill, but maybe the situation is that, she goes to the date excited and happy and stuff, and then she shows up to the date and then the guy's a jerk. He's insensitive. He's, criticizing her outfit, or he's talking about her hair or comparing her to other women and saying, she would be better if, if she had these certain type of assets, she had bigger boobs or a bigger butt, or, she should do this or do that, like it would suck, and so like, and like I was saying, the woman may be willing to split the bill, but you know, if she goes and splits the bill and she's meeting with this guy, what makes it a bad experience is the guy, right? Right. He's the what makes it sucky, Same thing if a guy was taking a girl out. Like, if a girl was insensitive, rude, or critical, she's gonna make the experience just ridiculous and just like fucked up, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So, it's not necessarily the money, in either case, whether you have a woman splitting half of the bill, and she's excited to go on a date and she meets a guy that's a loser, or whether it's a guy who's shows up to a date and he's really excited and he thinks his day looks beautiful and he's trying his best to do this or that, trying to convince her how, what a great guy he is and stuff and everything, and how caring he would be as a boyfriend, and then she's just a total bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the people that can ruin the experience, not specifically the money, you know. And money, I know with money, we do say, money can buy happiness. Money can definitely do that. Well, it makes sense because if you or I were to win the lottery right now, let's say right now we have worries right now. May have worries about things, things we can't afford. Maybe at our job we're working our ass off and we're not paid our worth, and we're trying to make, that paycheck that we have stretch 2 weeks and shit, and all of a sudden something happens where, we have to get a damn car repair or some shit, and if we were to win the lottery or whatever, have millions of dollars, we feel like, oh man, finally, I'm gonna feel so much better now that I have millions of dollars. But the thing is that what does that money draw, right? And you guys have probably heard this before, what's that song? I forget who sang. I don't know if it's the Notorious B.I.G. I think there's lyrics to the song. I don't know the name of the song, but they said, the more money we come across, the more problems we see. And it makes sense too, because when people win the lottery, well, what happens? When people win the lottery, you have all of a sudden you have these people coming up to you that you don't even know who the hell they are. These people find out you won the lottery, and you got some desperate ass people who are trying to come around you and be nice to you and shit, but you never know. They could be trying to, they could be trying to do anything to you to get the money. They could be some sketchy, shady ass people, people usually weary of. And in that way, the money can bring problems. You know, for example, if you're, let's say you're going out on a date or something, and you have a man, and let's say he's going on a date, he's spending money because he's trying to show how much of a gentleman he is, how great of a provider he is as a man, right? To a woman that he's taken on a date. And the thing is that this woman he's taken on a date, let's say he's spending all his money, well, what the guy may not know, is if the woman is there to genuinely, is she there genuinely being nice, or is she there because she's there to try to get, she's trying to be there to get stuff, to get free stuff. As in, like, she may be going on a date and looking for a guy with a lot of money because maybe she needs money to pay her bills. Maybe she's like, okay, I'm gonna find a guy with a whole bunch of money so he can pay my bills because, I can't really afford it and stuff. So, the first guy I can find that can do this, and I'm put on this act and stuff like that. The guy may think she's being generally nice, but she's not. And these days you got to be careful spending money because, you never know. A person you just happen up and meet on a date, whether it's a man or woman, you know, If they find out you have money, you don't know what their motive could be. You never know. A lot of sketchy shit going on these days. And the thing is, though, too, with money, it's money is, it allows us to do something, right? It allows us to be able to gain access to something. But that thing that we gain access to, we could find having money to be lonely. And we can. Because we may want to feel supported, to feel loved, to feel heard, to be valued, you know. And although we can buy stuff to make us look important and to people and stuff and everything, it doesn't mean we're necessarily going to have people around us that are really going to be there and genuinely be there for us as people, you know. And like I said, it's a toss up for me because I feel like, money can buy happiness if it allows you to take advantage of an opportunity that you've wanted to go on. Like if you wanted to go on, some sort of retreat or something, if you have the money to go on that retreat and you have a good time, essentially on that, retreat, whether it's a man's retreat or woman's retreat, you would say money bought you happiness, right? You know, but is it the money? Are you really buying happiness, or is it that while you were on that retreat, you know, you sought out specific things that, that were things you were interested in, and those things ended up, allowing you to meet people that would, create this happy experience, you know? It's a toss up. It's really tough to think about money buying happiness because, like I said, you could be lonely with money. You can have somebody who has millions of dollars, but they're lonely and they don't even have anybody around them who cares about them. Nobody that they can share their feelings with. Nobody that they can talk to. People who they may have had relationships with in the past, family, friends, or whoever, maybe they shoot all those people away, or maybe they cheated those people, and now, they have all this money, but then they don't have people around them that they can count on, you know? It's really like for me, it's really something to think about. But it's a toss up because I feel like money can buy happiness. I feel like it can, but I feel like it can't at the same time, you know, because we can invest in something being good, but that experience could turn out good or bad, you know. But something to think about. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching.